wasn't trying to get a pump to look more muscular for the video or anything. That's definitely not what's going on there. Before we get into the topic at hand, I want to mention, if you've been enjoying my videos and you want to get the most valuable possible from me, then check out the link below to sign up for a free call with me to talk about taking a boot camp. Boot camps are where I take you by the hand in person to go out and approach more women in 3 days than you've probably approached in your entire life. Almost definitely more than you've approached in the last year, given the situation at hand. And just so you know, like, I am getting a lot of bookings. I'm booked well in advance right now because the pandemic is like winding down. People are getting more free. They want to get out of the house. And so they have all this repressed energy of wanting to go out and talk to girls. They haven't been doing it for a year. A boot camp's an easy way to snap out of it, right? To snap out of the trance, to get out of that daze. So it appeals to a lot of people right now. And also my channel is just getting a lot of views. You may not know this, but even though I only have 10,000 subscribers, the amount of views I get is equivalent to most channels with 100 to 200,000 subscribers. I get about 5,000 views a day, which is similar to, say, like Honest Signals or someone with, or RSD Tyler, for example.
You get like 100,000 a month.
Yeah, over 100,000 a month.
Good. That's really good.
And so I'm getting booked a lot in advance. It's months in advance now, so I would recommend doing that sooner rather than later, because that's just going to get further and further ahead. Or I may just have to raise the price because there's too much demand. And I'm not gonna take on 10 clients at once like some coaches. I think that's absolutely stupid. I'm going to keep it to 2 or 3 people, but I'm going to have to either increase the price or it's going to be booked like a year in advance. So just want to get that out of the way really quick. Make sure to subscribe to the channel if you haven't done that already. And my product is still going to be coming out very soon. God Mode is going to be coming very soon. Very comprehensive, lots of infield, multiple pulls, actually clips of me bringing girls home in this product. And it's going to be very inexpensive, but I'm still perfecting it, making sure that it's like 100% complete the moment that I upload it, so that you're not waiting for content over the future weeks, because I don't like when people do that. So with that, let's get to the main point of today's video, which is the 4 master keys for seducing beautiful women. Yeah. And these are things that are generally universally applicable as much as possible, because there are a lot of things you can learn about pickup, dating techniques, etc., that are very specific to a certain type of girl, like things that work on a certain archetype of girl or in a certain situation, but they're not universal. These are the things that you want to dial these things down before worrying about anything else, and most of the results will come if you have these things in place. Like, if you're doing these things correctly, a high percentage of women will find you attractive and seductive, and they'll be open to, to say going home with you, going on a date with you. They'll be intrigued by you. So these are the broadest, most powerful concepts, and we're basically gonna discuss each one, break them down, how to implement them in your own life one by one. And so the first one is being fun. Mm-hmm. And this is one that a lot of guys, especially guys who like watch red pill content, for example, or the more like serious dating advice, really struggle with, because a lot of men learn to take themselves very logically and very seriously. It's very difficult for them to have fun. When they're talking to a girl, it's like they're the knight going into a cave, like running into the cave and trying to slay the dragon for the treasure. That's their like attitude towards it.
Well, it's very goal-oriented.
It's a big deal. It's very goal-oriented, and they have this taking energy, this leechy energy. It's like a little black hole of energy that just turns women off. It like shuts the door and just makes them not want to interact with them or be open to their influence at all.
Yeah, well, there's something that I tell my guys, game is the dessert of the day. All right, and to answer the guy that I saw in the comment section, yes, this is live. So just so you know. So here's the thing. A lot of you guys, like, it's something that I actually have a hard time with too myself. I have a hard time with making myself like stop being so logical. Because so me and Avery, we're pretty fucking smart, I like to think. Not to like, stroke my own ego. But like, here's the thing. Like, that's smart. Dude, the smart guys don't get laid. It's the weirdest fucking thing. It's the guys that are loose. It's the guys that are fun and free. And if you're not treating game like the dessert of the day, you're trying to come at it like it's work and it's supposed to be arduous and tough. Mm-hmm. Dude, legit, you're not going to make it any headway in this bitch. Girls don't like that. So that which you feel, she feels. If you have fun with a girl and you're having just so much excitement and energy and happiness and relaxation, dude, you come to that, you get in the state faster. The girl feels the energy. She has fun because you're having fun. Now, guess what? If she's having fun, her emotions are coming up. Her buying temperature is coming up. She's going to fuck you. She doesn't want to fuck the guys like, hello. How's it going? here's my opener, and then like, hopefully like, logically work its way through it. It's very clairvoyant. The self is always coming through.
So the one of the most important things you said right there deserves being dived into more is that emotions are contagious. Emotions are contagious. In psychology, this is actually called emotional contagion. You can look it up. It's an actual principle within scientific research.
Mirror neurons.
Mirror neurons is another aspect of that, more in the like neuroscience angle, but it's a very, very important thing. It's also why they use laugh tracks, right? It's why they use laugh tracks in shows. If other people are laughing, you want to laugh. It's why when one person yawns, another person yawns. If someone is just yelling at you super pissed off, there were actually these girls last night that kind of pissed me off because I approached them on the dance floor and they said, we're all lesbians, and then they pushed me away. They shoved me away and I didn't even touch them or get close to them or say anything at all. And I felt like, kind of like I wasn't being treated like a human, right? Like I was being objectified, basically. Yeah. And that just pissed me off. And then my mood got drawn in by the mirror neurons, by that emotional contagion, and my mood just, I got really pissed, which ideally I would just like ignore and be like, okay, have a good night. But that's how the brain naturally works. It's very hard to fight that. So if you're having fun, you're being passionate, you have good energy, then the women you approach are gonna, and not necessarily be immediately attracted, but they're going to enjoy the experience being around you. And if they enjoy the experience being around you, they're going to be more open to that continuing. Like even if like you could be good looking, but you have this draining like energy, a lot of girls are just going to instantly reject you because they don't want to be around that. So everyone wants more fun. That's like universal. We make our decisions based on having more fun. That's what like every business that exists today, it's pretty much based on giving you more fun and like at the requirement of less effort and stress, right? Like that's video games, that's social media, that's everything. That's what it's about. So if your personality is fun, right? If you're giving them fun, then the girls are going to be more open to your persuasion, to your influence, to wanting to be around you. And that's what makes you charming. And the other thing is like girls, one of their biggest fears is being judged, dealing with a guy who's like needy or pushy or like gives them any pressure, feeling of this pressure. And fun is the opposite of that. Fun is the opposite of pressure. So it categorizes you as you're not one of those guys that's going to be like pushy. I need something. Creepy. It shows you don't need her. You're just enjoying yourself. And she's not going to like have to deal with you stalking her and being creepy. That's what being fun, that's what it implies, right? And that's the other reason why it's so seductive. So fun is incredibly important. And I mean, the first way to be fun is and I would recommend
I'll stop. I know.
Texting during it, but so the first thing about being fun is the mindset, right? The mindset of I'm approaching to make her day better. I'm approaching to offer value. She doesn't owe me anything. If she hates me, that's fine. I'll turn it into a joke, right? I'll just make some joke out of it. If she rejects me, I'll turn it into humor, right? And so if a girl says like, I don't like you, be like, but I'm a pro World of Warcraft player, if that helps. Or my mom says I'm a catch, or like you'd love the decorum in my mother's basement that I live in. Like just, turn it into a joke, make it fun, like be lighthearted about it. Don't take anything seriously. And that's the first level, is that mindset and those kinds of actions. And what are some suggestions for how to be fun?
Focus goes, energy flows. The more that you focus on, the more that you're going to do better. But here's the thing too, that I notice with myself, I have this like, everybody has their dark negative emotions, which is something Tony Robbins brings up. My dark negative emotions are anxiety, stress, depression. So for you, maybe it's like anger, maybe something like that. Maybe it's like jealousy. Now you got to notice what your dark negative emotion is, and whenever it comes up to the surface when you're out gaming, notice it. And then from there, be like, how could I instead make myself laugh? In this moment right here, so I had a point where I was walking with this girl, I was holding her hand and whatnot. We're walking out and it's going great. And then I look away for half a second and I run into a sign. Like I mean hard, and I fell on my ass, and I had a cup of water in my hand, and it fucking splashes all over my chest. And I remember I started blushing super hard. I got it super in my head, and I'm like, I could have made this fun. I could have just like laid out and sprawled out on the floor and just been like, just leave me here for dead. Leave me. I'm not worth it. I could have like made a joke out of it. Instead, I start blushing and getting in my head and feeling like I'm judged. Now all of a sudden, guess what? Now like I fucked up the set. Like now like I'm not now I'm the alpha because I'm worried about what other people are thinking. So that's like one big big idea. Field reports too, you can do it in the way of field reports. Brainstorm. So before I go out, this is actually something I'm starting to do because I'm trying to work on myself with the self-amusement side of things. I'm trying to more get myself into a happy-go-lucky, like crazy state, loose state. One, don't self-judge. Never self-judge. Self-judgment is honestly something that I've seen a lot of people do, but if you judge others, you're gonna judge yourself. So focus on like never judging yourself and never judging others, and that way you'll be loose so you can do this. And the laughter, the comedy, the make yourself laugh also comes from a place of repression. If you do have this issue, it will take a little bit of time to fix because it's an identity issue. But once you fix it, it'll be a lot easier to alleviate and fix and work on.
So that one, like what you're not judging others, that's really important because it's very easy to like, she looks like a slut, she looks dumb, she looks stuck up, she looks those things. I do my best to avoid thinking that and to think positive thoughts about the people around me, because even if objectively maybe those thoughts are right, it doesn't get you in a better mood. It doesn't get you in the state of mind where you're going to be able to have fun. So I think positive thoughts towards others, like, oh wow, they look like they're having a lot of fun, she looks so graceful, she looks beautiful, I want to talk to her, she looks really interesting, things like that. That's what's going through my head. And then also, if someone else like looks at me, or if a girl, like she looks at me, I assume it's something positive. I assume she's intrigued and she wants to meet me. I assume she's thinking like, oh wow, that guy's really, really hot and I want him to talk to me. Even if she like looks away immediately after, I assume that and then find out if it's true by talking to them, right? You find out if it's true after, but assume the positive and get yourself in an upward spiral of thinking good thoughts about yourself instead of negative thoughts about yourself. And then another thing you can do to have fun is like, do some cheesy pickup lines occasionally. Occasionally, like, is it hot out here? Or is that the Holy Spirit burning inside of you? Stupid pickup line. Is it a good pickup line? No. But the point of it is just to not take yourself so seriously, to be able to let go a little. And don't do that all the time. Don't make that like your main pickup line, but as a way to just get like the rev the lawnmower, right? To get out of that kind of taking yourself too seriously mentality. So it's really useful to do things like that occasionally. And then, let me think, what else?
Well, okay, I got one for you.
Okay.
So here's the thing with a lot of people, you guys think that the negative energy, so you have to look at it this way. So I try to turn everything into loving the process. I think that literally is the key cornerstone to getting good at game and the cornerstone to getting good at anything. Why? If you love work, you can do it infinitely. If you love game, you can do it infinitely. And a lot of you guys are like looking at stuff like game. You guys think that by looking at game as this like this struggle, by looking at work as a struggle, it makes you this noble character. What it does is instead it burns willpower. Do you know how easy it is to play video games nonstop? We can play video games like nonstop all the time. Why not turn game into a video game? Why not train yourself to believe like whenever you come to a point where you're like, oh no, here we go, oh no, I got rejected, oh it hurts, and you walk away and you feel that pain. Why not teach yourself to love rejection in the same way you would love like a positive environment? Why not love it the same way you would like playing a video game? Like why are you like, why does everything have to be a struggle? If you can do that, you'll find yourself more loose. And from the loose energy, you can laugh more and be more authentic with that energy, more positive, as opposed to the negative. Negative energy is not going to allow, that negative suppressive energy will not allow for laughter at all. That loose energy.
So I have two more things. One is just like in your mind, one of your measures for a night being successful is if you had fun. Like be aware, like part of your goal is to actually have fun. It's not just to get laid. If your goal is just to get laid, you're focused completely on the results. And I understand being focused on results is useful, but it's okay to like want to have fun. That's part of the purpose of going out. That's the purpose of dating. If it's not fun, then what's the point, right? Like you sleep with like the hottest girl ever, and then you weren't having fun. Why are you doing it, right? So it should be fun. That's something like you should orient yourself towards that. That's like on your compass, right? Your mental compass is pointing towards having fun. And then I think there was one more thing about fun. But I forgot it. Maybe we'll get back to it, to be completely honest. Okay, so number 2, the second master key is sexual intent. And I'm not necessarily talking about saying anything like sexual, saying, oh yeah, that's a tight body, I want to hit it. I'm not saying that. I'm saying letting the girl feel that you have sexual intentions, that you have sexual desire for her, and getting that emotion across. Because if you're just fun, she's open to you, she wants to talk to you, but you could still be the platonic friend kind of archetype, right? You could still fit into that. Fun is better than nothing, but if there's no sexual oomph behind it, if there's no sexual tension, then where's it going, right? feel like it's headed towards anything. So it's like one of the biggest things you can do is when you're talking to women is to actually focus on the fact that you think she's sexy, that she's beautiful, that you desire her, to actually let yourself experience those emotions, to actually like come from a sexual frame of mind. And this is important because as men, we get shamed for our sexual desires. Like if you were to get a boner in middle school, it's not like people are applauding like, good job, I'm proud of you, you're becoming a man. No, it's super awkward, right? You get shamed for it, you get laughed at. Like that's what we learn is that like being turned on, that's bad. That's a bad thing that you need to hide and be ashamed of. And in some cases, you should, right? There are certainly cases where you shouldn't be, like if a girl's not being reciprocating, then yeah, you shouldn't be acting that way. But that's what sparks the fire in many cases also. It goes back to the emotional contagion concept, that what you feel, the other person feels. So if you are feeling desire, there's a much higher chance that she's gonna feel desire back. And that's the thing that sparks the fire. And the number one way to do this is through your eye contact. It's just looking at her, like dead in the eyes, making very strong, unwavering eye contact. This is hard at first, but you'll notice, by the way, that girls are very good at holding strong eye contact when they're attracted to you, and it's actually a way of testing you. Like it's a way of seeing if you're gonna flinch, if you're basically like a low status guy that can't handle the pressure, because it creates building tension the more you hold eye contact, and that alone can turn a girl on. I've had girls literally say just from eye contact that they wanted to have sex with me. I've had girls say that they had never felt butterflies like that in years until like just making eye contact. Things like that on multiple occasions just by focusing on eye contact and looking at her with the feeling of, I want you, I desire you, you're sexy. Like I'm projecting that intention by thinking those thoughts. That's what I'm thinking about, that's what my focus is on, and that spreads from person to person. Any thoughts on that one?
No.
No? Okay, and then another part of that is with sexual intent, you can use as a crutch. You can use direct game as a crutch, as a way to do that, especially if you're uncomfortable with making your intentions clear. Like the idea of telling a girl she's cute makes you nervous. That's what it did for me. It would make me nervous, right? To say, you're cute, or I find you attractive. Often what I would do is, like the first girl I talked to on a night out, I would say just like, you're really hot, you're really attractive. And as soon as I did that, it's like the pressure is let off, the monkey in my back is let off, and now I can be genuine, right? I can be vulnerable. I can show my desires without like making a big deal of it. So showing intent by doing it verbally, like just saying, I think you're cute, can be a crutch for a way to show intent as you practice getting good at the eye contact and showing that in your energy. But like you should be legitimately turned on when you're out approaching women some of the time. Like you should be feeling sexual energy. And if you're not feeling that at all, that means that you're repressing it, and that there's not much reason for the girls to want to do anything with you because you're not building that energy. You're not building that vibe. That's like one of the wavelengths that seduction is on. And if you're not on that wavelength, it's not really a seduction.
Yeah, it's honestly, if you have a hard time with like going direct, you have to like push through that. Like my big thing that I always give to guys is that you need to like for like 2 to 3 months just go direct every single time. I've seen it where guys like will try to like pussyfoot their way around, and they'll like be like, oh, what's the time? What's this? What's that? And that's okay at first, but if you cannot show like direct intent, you have to get comfortable showing intent. If not, like you're honestly, it's like what are you expecting? Like you're gonna like ask for the time, and you're convinced the girl, hey, now you know.
That's what I used to think back in the day. My first entire year of game, that's what I thought would happen.
Like what?
Did not work. That I would go indirect, stay indirect, hide my intentions. I was doing the mystery method my own way, and I would hide my intentions, and it would never lead anywhere.
There's some methods out there right now that are like that, and I think they're so stupid. Like you're gonna walk up to a guy and tell him that you're friends with Steve Aoki, and then all of a sudden now the girl's gonna be like, oh my god, it's crazy, and then you show up to the thing. How like where there was no sexual intent. The girl like. It's like you came through like trying to pretend like this character. The girl knows you're being a pussy. Like she's not gonna be attracted to you. You're coming across lower status than her. The fact that you have to do this, girls don't want to date a guy that's lower status than them. They want to date a guy preferably higher status. They want a guy that's higher status than them, of course. The same way anybody wants like to like cash out on an investment. Like I mean, if you make it big on the hand, like that's way better than if like you.
Women trust. So the point is, women trust
Tangent king.
They don't trust verbal status because anyone can say anything and men lie about that all the time, so they don't trust that. But they can trust non-verbal signs of status because it's much harder to fake. Like if you're nervous, your body language is going to reflect that. It's like you can't fight that completely. If your eye contact is like you're feeling shy making eye contact, that's going to come through. And the only way to get over that is to practice the opposite until you get comfortable with it. So to practice holding strong eye contact, to practice better body language, and then eventually over time, through practicing it, you can get comfortable with it, and then you give those high status nonverbal communication. But just saying it, lying about it, saying you're high status, that doesn't work for that obvious reason. Anything else on like showing sexual intent, why that's important?
All right, so friend to friend and man to woman is a huge thing. It's one of the biggest things that I always push with people. There's never been an interaction I've ever seen that's gone well when a guy starts. It's extremely rare. I've only seen a couple people ever pulled off. One was Sean, one was Bradicus, and one actually three. Todd, Bradicus, and Sean are the only people I've ever seen, and I've been in this now for a decade. It's extremely hard to pull off. And here, if you want to go indirect, this is the way you do it: indirect, direct. Don't do this indirect game because the reason you're doing it is not because it's not the same reason our friend Sean's doing it. You're doing it because you're trying to mitigate risk because you're afraid of what's gonna happen. You're afraid of your ego. Fuck your ego. Like legit. Like you're trying to play it safe. By playing it safe, by playing to not lose, like you're losing so incredibly. Like you're creating that which you're afraid of. Instead of playing to win, you're playing to not lose. Now guess what? Now you're not gonna get any girls into you. If you get one girl into you, it's gonna be the low quality girl and by low quality I mean unattractive, super weird. Like there's no girl that's high quality and attractive that's gonna like you for doing something like that. Like you're not gonna trick her, and you're not gonna trick your way into her pants. All right, you need some level of authentic conversation. And I mean like the actions are always the self is always coming through. And if you're afraid to be sexual with a girl, like how does that scream high status? How does that scream like badass like material? Like you're not the guy that walks away from an explosion in slow motion. You're the guy that's probably like, I don't know, like
Michael Scott in The Office when there's the fire and he pushes everyone away. He's like pushing everyone away and like trying to get out first. That's what you are.
Yeah.
Okay, so last thing about that topic is the sexual intent. There's different layers that you can create sexual intent or sexual tension, right? One is through, like I'm talking about, eye contact, just pure eye contact. Second is your emotions in general. So if you're feeling sexual emotions, if you're feeling turned on, that spreads. Third one is physical escalation. So if you're touching a girl, you're touching each other, you're getting more intimate, you're kissing, etc. That's obviously one too. Now that one, in day game, you be careful with it, right? It's often not necessary and can actually be uncomfortable. In a club environment, it's much more conducive to being very physical. It's just, it kind of matches that environment a lot more, right? It's gonna happen more often because it's so loud and hectic that you can't even hear each other unless you're being physical. And then the last one is verbal, which is being sexual in your conversation. The best way to do that is through humor, right? Making jokes about, how many babies you're gonna give her, or how she she already made you finish when she said something funny, like I think I just finished. Things like that, right? Things that are not serious, but are still showing sexual intent. But that can work. However, that has a lot to do with calibrating it, and that's one of the other master keys. We'll talk about that later. Mm-hmm. That can work too, but that's the one that has like the highest risk if you do it wrong. The highest chance of being creepy is by being verbally like saying very sexual things out of context. So that's one thing. And then and that's the main ones, right? Those four different aspects, and make sure your interactions have at least a couple of those. Otherwise, they're gonna lack that. They're gonna be inert, right?
It's all
they're
gonna fall flat.
Right. It's gonna fall flat. It's gonna be what's the word for when like someone has no testicles?
Vitality, not vitality. I know what you're talking about. Testosterone, but it's not. It's masculinity, but it's not that. Sexual intent.
It's like the guy from Game of you're gonna be basically
neutered.
Yeah, that's
I
the
got
word.
it.
Gonna be neutered. And so with that word, number three is let me check.
And after he says, I really need to take a piss.
Go ahead, you can take a piss. Just don't film it.
Well, just I'll be listening to that.
Go for it. All right, the third one is leading. That's the third master key, is leading. And this one is, so the other ones are about like making the girl feel good around you, creating the spark, right? Creating the good emotional connection that you want. Leading is more about being able to actually move things forward and get the yes or no as opposed to getting a maybe. That's what it's really about. Because what I've seen with doing boot camps, many, well over 100 clients at this point, most of them do not lead. I actually had a client get laid the other night, and the one difference was his first interactions, he would talk and talk and talk. He was talking to one girl for like 40 minutes, and I kept trying to text him, and I would tell him, like, lead, move it forward. He wasn't doing it, and he did it after like 50 minutes. He moved them to the dance floor or whatever, but by then it was like too long. The next day, I tell him, this is what's wrong. All right, I'm not sure where it cut off there, but the internet disconnected for a second. And so saying when to go for the close, 10 minutes, it depends on what close you're talking about. If you're talking about a number, I would say ideal is 5 to 15 minutes. Any shorter than that, and it's not likely that you've really built much of a connection. And then any longer than that, and like you've already could have made the number solid. You don't need to spend an hour talking to one girl. It'd make more sense if you're going for the number, if that's your best option, right? Because you can't pull her for whatever reason, then it would make sense to 5 to 15 minutes. Because if you're doing it longer than that, you could have met 5 other girls, and maybe you would have met one who had a better connection with you, had better chemistry with. So you just want to be efficient with your time. So leading is the number one thing. That's what got this client laid. I'm like I don't know where it cut off. Sorry about that. But to reiterate, the next day after I told him, like, you should have led that 30 minutes ago. You should have taken them somewhere. You should have moved it forward because they were into you clearly. They were attracted, but it needs to be going somewhere. And then the next day, he ends up going on a date, and he talks to her for 15 minutes, implements the advice, and like invites her back to get a drink at his place. And a gentleman never quite remembers what happened, but it was good things that happened, right? And that's what got this client. That simple like difference is what made the difference between an interaction going nowhere and getting laid. Taking the lead, moving it forward, constantly moving it forward. Anyone I've seen who's good at game, who gets good results from game, they lead a lot. So it's just, if you're talking to a girl for more than 10 minutes, you should be moving it forward in some way, right? It might be physical escalation, but not necessarily. It could also be moving her to the bar, moving her to the outside area, moving her to the dance floor, moving her to a coffee shop nearby, moving her to go on a walk, to check out this like park or whatever. Moving, leading, constantly leading. Always be leading, right? That would be like the mantra. Always be leading, always be leading. Think back to yourself, like how often do you lead in your interactions? How often do you just like get a girl's number instead of finding out if you could have pulled her? Instead of trying to like see if you could take her home, find out if she's available right now, make an offer. Like how often do you actually say, hey, why don't we get a drink back at my place? Or do you just assume that she just wants your number, she's not attracted, and reject yourself, right? The main reason guys reject themselves and don't get results in game is that they don't lead enough. Right? They just don't take the lead enough, and that is so important. Plus, it implies high status as well. It implies high status because that's what high status people do. They're comfortable taking the lead. They're comfortable moving things in the direction they want. It shows confidence. It shows they know what they're doing. It shows certainty. And that's the same thing that's what a CEO does, right? That's what a alpha male in the tribe or whatever would have done. They lead without hesitation. So the more you're doing that, it actually also builds attraction as long as you're calibrating it and you're doing it at a rate she can relate to. It also shows that you're attractive. It also builds attraction while also moving the interaction forward. So really think, how much do you lead your interactions, and is it enough? Or are you just kind of like passively hoping something happens? You're playing not to lose because you like the validation you're getting from her laughing at your jokes or whatever. Like, do you want her to laugh at your jokes, or do you want to, a family-friendly YouTube? But I think the other thing I'm talking about is that, right? Like, which one do you want? And if you want to be the guy who gets girls to laugh at your jokes for 20 minutes and then goes nowhere, then stop. Yeah, don't lead. That's bad advice. But if you're the guy who actually wants to get results, then lead. Leading is absolutely key. Lead. Like, I can't beat that in your head enough. Like, it's so important. Get the yes or the no, not the maybe when it comes to leading, right? And obviously, when I'm talking in bedroom situations, get the yes, right? Be very, very careful with that. But in a general context of leading, get the yes or the no. Get her to say, oh, yes, I'll come with you. Or no, I'm not interested. Or yes, like, let's go out, let's go on a date, or no, instead of like waiting for her to ask for your number, right? Things like that. Always be leading. Very important. Any thoughts on leading?
Yeah, so this is actually something that I kind of had a bigger issue with when I was younger too. So I'm a natural sweetheart. So
That made me not believe you're a sweetheart.
that's
the
why I
way you
did
laughed
it.
at that.
That's why I did it.
Yeah.
For me, the hardest part was actually becoming more of an abrasive figure, which nowadays a lot of people, such as him, would actually argue that I'm probably like among some of the more abrasive on occasion. But here's the thing that actually helped me out a lot. You're not leading, this whole dominance thing nowadays is looked upon as bad. But here's an idea that I had that's a mannerism and a mindset that I have whenever I'm leading with a girl or leading my friends or leading my tribe. This is how I do it. You got to look at yourself as Moses leading them to the promised land. Now, this sounds narcissistic as all hell, not gonna lie, but like imagine yourself as like, dude, I know what's best for us. I got us handled. Follow me. Follow this way. So you know the girl's gonna have a good time with you. Is she gonna have a better time in the club? Fuck no. Is there another guy like you in the club? No. Like she's gonna have a tenfold better time with you. Why didn't she come with you? You have to understand this on a deep level. You're the best option for her. If you're the best option, why wouldn't you why would you be such a jerk to not invite her to come with you, to convince her to come with you? Like, is there a better proposition in the club? No, there isn't. There's no guy in there like you. So take her to the promised land. You're Moses parting the Red Sea. Follow me this way.
Well, see, with the whole dominance thing, like it's not. If a girl were to lead me and I liked her, I wouldn't mind at all. I've had that happen a few times in my life. Not many. It's rare that women will do that. Maybe that'll change over time. We'll see. But I don't mind. Like I don't mind when a girl leads me, or if like a friend plans out a trip that's a really cool trip and sets it all together and like confidently puts it together. Like it's okay to be led. It's not like that means you're inferior necessarily, right? Unless you're just incapable of leading yourself and you only take the passive role. But I'm perfectly comfortable with the girl taking the lead too if she'll do it. But I'm not gonna just assume that that's going to happen and not take responsibility myself, because that's being passive in a way that's gonna lead you to not get what you want, right? You have to be able to take the lead. You have to be willing to get what you want in any area of life. So it's not like this anti-women thing where it's just like put them in their place, dominate them. No, look, if women want to take the lead, that's perfectly fine. I've had great experiences where that happened. I have nothing against that as well. And if you really liked a girl, she took the lead, I doubt you'd be like upset about it. And she like brought you to her bedroom, stripped off her clothes, and was just like, let's do it. I've had that happen, and that was super hot. I didn't mind it at all. So leading is very attractive, whoever does it. But because most women are used to letting the guy take the lead, because that's what's expected to happen, that's what usually happens. So why would they risk being rejected by taking the lead themselves when they don't have to, right? When a guy likes them, they have every reason to think he's going to make a move. So why risk being rejected when you don't have to? That's why generally it's going to benefit you more to be taking the lead yourself. Mm-hmm. And the last master key is calibration. And this actually applies to all of the other three. It applies to all of them. It applies to everything. And it's an overarching thing. And this is something a lot of guys lack. And what it really comes down to is paying attention where the girl is at, what she's feeling, being aware of her experience, and calibrating to it, adjusting for what she's feeling, which sometimes means putting your foot like on the gas pedal and escalating things further because she wants you to move things forward and you're going too slow, right? You're like taking too long, you're not leading, for example, or you're not being sexual enough and she's getting bored. Or it means putting your feet on the brakes and taking a step back and showing you're not gonna be pushy, right? So for example, with like sexual intent, if you're holding really strong eye contact and she's looks turned on and she's receptive, she's giving you the Bambi eyes, that might be a reason to like move in closer or like hold her hips. And if she reciprocates, she holds you back, etc., that's a reason to move things forward. But if you're like make a sexual comment, she's like, why'd you say that? I don't like that, right? Then that means you take a step back, you calibrate to it. Sometimes that even means apologizing, believe it or not. Like, sorry, I don't filter myself enough sometimes and I just say what comes to my mind. Right? Like I didn't mean to offend you.
Yeah, and then empathetic. It's just basically being empathetic.
Right, which is sounds simple, but it's in everything, and it's absolutely key. And most guys are terrible at doing it, right? They don't pay attention. Even the way you approach. Most guys have not even thought about this. If you approach a girl, let's say she's walking in the day, what I've seen most of the people on boot camps the first day, what they do is they approach from behind her so she can't see them. They're very close to her. They're loud. Some of them even will like touch her shoulder from behind. And they like when they're walking next to her, they push her against the wall. Like they make her feel trapped and they make her feel like she's being followed. Like think about from a girl's perspective, you're like 100 pounds and this like 180-pound person is approaching you from behind with a deep voice. You know they're twice your strength and that like you're in a dangerous situation, right? You don't know if you can trust them or if there's some crazy person. And they're just saying, hey, you're really cute. And you can't see them. You don't hear, like you just are overwhelmed. You want to start walking faster. Like that would be nerve-wracking. When I approach, I'm aware of all these things. I give them a good amount of space to the side so they know I'm not like in striking range, so like they can feel comfortable with it. I get in front of them and make eye contact with them first, if at all possible, to make sure that they can see my eyes, so they can see that I'm friendly, good intentions, etc. And then I give them a lot of space and wait until they're comfortable before getting in any closer. And I also, what's the other one? I also don't move them, like I don't walk towards them in a way that makes them like get trapped against the wall, for example. And I also don't walk behind them. I walk next to them or slightly in front of them so they don't feel like I'm following them, right? So focusing on what the girl is feeling at all times, being aware of her emotional state at all times is calibration and adjusting to it. You have anything to say while I get a drink about calibration?
Yeah, so for the most part, it's about empathy. Like it's about like, so the girl's not gonna trust you if you're trying to like play games with her. If you're not like, so if you don't notice when she's messing up, she's not gonna trust you. If she's not gonna go home with you, if she feels like that you're looking at her as an object. I know some guys that are like I call them hammers. They're these type of guys that can like, they're very good at taking action, but when it comes down to like human to human interaction, they cannot make the connection. This girl you talk to is a person. Be like empathetic. And this is the thing that's probably gonna save my channel the most out of everything. This one speech right here. But if you don't
I
care
need to put
about
this on your channel, make you look a lot better.
Empathetically care about the girl. Teach yourself to actually care about people, because that's the biggest place. Like something I had to learn the hard way, and I'll put it this way. I hope you guys don't have to learn it the hard way. Care about others. The self is always coming through. When you care about somebody else, they sense it. It comes through, and you never shake up. You know what? When I take a girl back to my place, you know what happens? Sometimes the girl's gonna be like, you know what? I just wanted to kind of take it slow and be like, dude, I don't care. It's fine. You just want to hang out. The reason I brought you was not because I want to sleep with you. I thought you're cool. Now guess what? She sleeps with me every time. No LMR, because she knows that I care. And also when I act a certain way, she knows I'm not doing it for some kind of gimmick. Like I'm actually just this person. So then like I'm congruently the person you see in front of you. So the girl's like, when he acts like a badass, when he is that guy, he must be that because he's congruent, because he calibrates. And it's like it comes all from like the perspective. You see the girl act a certain way, she's like kind of like not feeling it. You make her feel uncomfortable. Back off.
So calibration is about making sure that your goals align with her goals and being willing to adjust to her goals. So if her goal is she doesn't want you, then you're like totally cool with that. You feel entitled that even if a girl doesn't like you, you still deserve sex or something like that. That would be the opposite of calibration. That's the wrong way to do it. So calibration is about having a win-win mentality. That's the old school self-help. Kind of sounds cheesy, but it's a good mindset. Yes, I'm moving things forward as long as that is a win for her, but if there's any sign it's not a win for her, I'm willing to take a step back. I'm willing to move back. I'm willing to end the interaction. I'm willing to get rejected. That's all fine. Like, if she doesn't want it, that's okay. Like, there's nothing wrong with that. She doesn't owe me anything. I want to move things forward if I like her, and I want to, in alignment, make that happen. But as soon as there's any sense of discomfort on her end, I adjust, take a step back. And in many cases, when you do that, it actually builds attraction, because it shows that one of the things women fear most is a guy who lacks empathy and who won't take no for an answer, right? A guy who just is pushy, creepy, etc. And when you show you're willing to take a step back, like you start trying to kiss a girl and she like gets a little uncomfortable and you pull back immediately. If you do that, it shows, okay, this guy is willing to be rejected. He is not going to be overly pushy, and he respects me as a person, and therefore I can trust him. And that trust is very important. Comfort's very important for women with attraction, because they're in a very they have different risks from what men have when it comes to sex. They have more risks that they have to worry about, and being able to trust you is very important. So calibrating everything builds trust, and this goes with like physical escalation. The whole moving forward with physical escalation, like at first you're holding her hips. If she likes it, then that's, it's a green light, and then maybe you like start dancing with her. And if she gives you a green light with that, maybe it gets more and more and more. But anytime there's any sense of discomfort or she is like not on the same wavelength, then you step back before she even asks you to, right? As soon as you sense any sense of discomfort, she doesn't even have to say that, you get there before she even says it. That's when you're doing a good job at calibration. So Those are the 4 master keys to seducing beautiful women. Those are the most important 4 concepts that if you implement them, they will get you a lot of success by themselves. You'll do better than most guys. Like you can watch a channel of like 100 videos and do better just from doing those 4 things than watching those hundreds of videos on a lot of other channels, because it's mostly fluff. Like that's what really matters. This video, it's free. It should not be free. Don't treat it like it's free. Like this is some very valuable stuff. I hope you treat it like that and implement it, because it will get you results. By the way, make sure to check out Denton's channel as well. Charisma King. Hit him with the subscribe and the bell button, all that love.
Hit that bell.
Leave comments on his channel, so it brings the algorithm up. Leave comments on this, because if you
Talk
do
to me
so,
dirty.
even say like leaving a comment for the algorithm. Although maybe the algorithm's smart enough to detect that by now, I don't know. But leaving a comment helps these videos get more views. Actually, one of my videos from like 4 days ago got a ton of comments. It's already got like 5,000 views, so that's been really helpful. And if you like the video and want other people to see it, pay it forward. That's a free way to do that, is leave a comment, leave a like, and make sure you're subscribed to the channel. I'd really appreciate that. And then if you're interested in like getting the most powerful coaching with me as possible, the most powerful like impact is if I'm working with you in person. That's where I have the most leverage to make a rapid change. Then make sure to click the link down below to learn more about my 3-day boot camps.
Just click stuff, write stuff. Click stuff and write stuff on my thing too. Bell stuff, do things like that. Thumb things up. What else are there? There's
Let's
like
see if we can. The comments, by the way, it's on my phone. I can't really read.
I was actually gonna say.
Maybe we can go over some.
I have a thing in Azusa's. So I have like a reservation at Azusa's here pretty soon.
Oh, okay.
So
Yes, I teach some specific lines, but a lot of times lines really what you need, because a great conversation, like any good conversation, is not going to be scripted. You can't, like, scripting a great free-flowing conversation, the highest level conversation can't be scripted. It's not about knowing the exact lines. You can have themes of things to talk about, topics that you gravitate towards, that can be useful, but having a bunch of lines, that's just robotic. Like, that's a very like left-brained way of thinking, but seduction is not mostly left brain, it's more right brain. It's about getting into your right brain, your creative side, getting into a flow state and free-flowing. So the specific actions, there are times like knowing how many approaches to do, or like a line to pull with can be useful, like an excuse like let's play Cards Against Humanity, that can be useful, or seeding the pool, that can be useful. But for the most part, having a bunch of specific lines can actually like hamstring you and handicap you more than it helps you. You want to learn how to free associate, which I do have exercises in my book about where you can practice free association, but any good interaction is going to be free association. Watch like Conan O'Brien interviews. Watch how he's like very clever and funny and great at conversation. It's all free association. It's all him thinking on the top of his head. And if you watch his monologues, they're not nearly as funny. The scripted stuff isn't even nearly as good because it's not free association, because it's scripted. So the whole like desire for specific lines, I get it. I used to have that. There are lines that I do repeatedly use, but any great interaction I have is more about free associating, having fun, letting loose, and letting the creative part of your brain take over.
Here.
I'll put a link for the book below.
Here, and I'll give you like one last piece of advice, and I got to run over and like start changing a little bit. All right, so this is what I would say about canned lines. First, don't say the canned line, say the idea of the canned line. The reason for this being is because you come across more authentic. So I do have canned lines, but they're not hardcore set. They're more the idea. I'll say the idea of the line. When you say the idea of the line, you won't get stuck in habit. So let's say like you evolve over the course of a year and you keep using the same line. You'll still habitually say the line the same way. So you work on your tone, talk deeper in your stomach. Then you say the line, you talk high in your throat, or you say it in like kind of a wussy-ish way. Instead, now you're like more masculine. Instead, if you said the idea of the line, guess what? Now it evolves with you. It evolves with your energy. And also too, like it'll come across more authentic as opposed to like you sounding like you're saying a rote line. Instead, you say the idea of the line. All right, I'm gonna change out shirts really fast.
Okay. And by the way, like with the boot camps, you want to learn more about the specifics, check out my testimonials playlist, and then you'll see in people's own words what the boot camps are like and what they got out of them, because that's better than just hearing me describe them. But I'll go through a few more comments. The system here is not very good. I'm not going to give you the lay count for the last 90 days, but I'll tell you that it's more than the average man has in his entire life. I'll say that. I'm not gonna like give you the exact number. I don't even know it. Like talking about Hawaii, I've known people to have success in Hawaii. I don't think it's like the best city in the world for a game, but it's fine. Like it's I you it sounds like you might be using that as an excuse. If you're going really hard and you've done a lot of approaches and you've tried and you've like put yourself out there many times and really pushed it and failed despite that and not got any results, that'd be one thing. But it sounds like, oh, it's looked down upon, so I'm not going to approach. Find out after experimenting. Don't assume, right? Don't assume based on hearsay or rumors or what people talk about. Actually experiment. Treat it like a scientist. If you can't make the interaction sexual, it means you should be. It means, first of all, you can literally say sexual things to make it sexual. So what do you mean you can't? Like that, I don't understand. You can't make it sexual. That just doesn't compute. Logically makes no sense. Of course, you can make it sexual. Now, if you mean they don't reciprocate when you make it sexual, that's a problem about calibration, right? That means either you're like going way too creepy about it, too hard, or you think you're making it sexual, but you're actually being like soft as hell.
Or you're being outcome dependent. So here's a big thing I noticed with a lot of guys too. You guys sometimes will be outcome dependent on an interaction as opposed to being like, so here's the thing with like a vibe with me and Avery. When we talk to a girl, like I'm the value. I'm the prize. She's the seller. She should sell herself to me. No offense. This isn't like some kind of misogynistic thing. It's just like this underlying thing that I notice with people. It's like guys will approach a girl and I'm like, you guys watching this video right now, I promise you this, the chances of the girl working harder on herself than you are currently is so small. She like, and the only reason
assuming you're actually like implementing all the self-help stuff that you consume and not just mentally,
she takes that energy, so she's not going to respect. So the guy that she goes for is the guy that is the prize. She wants the guy higher value than her. So if she doesn't like reciprocate the sexual energy, you know why that like it's not all the time. Sometimes the girl's just in a certain headspace where it's not the case. But sometimes, guess what? Sometimes, and probably the majority of the time, it's because you didn't present yourself the right way. You didn't have your beliefs. You didn't believe in yourself. You're winning on so many different levels, as I imagine it. So me and Avery, we don't have like low quality audience. We have what's called like a deep audience. You guys are a bunch of killers. I know my audience. I know his audience. I've seen a lot of you guys come on the boot camps. You guys are like a bunch of rich guys, killers. You guys are running businesses. You guys are like working out, gaming every day. You guys work on yourself so intensely. You're the prize. You're higher value than her. And the only reason that you're not higher value than yours is because you don't believe you are. Give yourself the win. Quit being a codependent. When you guys are being codependent and you make yourself smaller so that people feel more comfortable, you're doing a disservice to the girl. You're underselling yourself. It's like you're walking up to a girl with $1 million and then you undersell the $1 million. Like, I mean, it's there's something in the suitcase. It's okay. I mean, if you want it, I really want to give it to you though. Please take it. Please take the suitcase. No, like, why should I give this to you? That's the energy. And that's why the girl's not being sexual with you.
Okay, and maybe one or two more. If a guy is around hot girls like Michael Sartain, would you even need to approach girls? Or better yet, would you automatically be good with girls? Well, first of all, how would you get all those girls around you without approaching them in the first place? Or, what, you're going to become a celebrity? You're going to become a famous DJ and then the girls are just going to start appearing? I mean, go for that. On average, that would take many years and the chance of succeeding is very low. So... and you're going to be waiting for a long time without getting any results. So that's my first thought about that. Where do you think like the girls just appear, right? Or that just happened out of nowhere, like magic? No, that took a lot of work and effort itself. And it makes more sense to start by taking direct effort, by putting yourself in front of girls and approaching them and getting the yes or the no instead of like spending hours like on social media trying to cultivate a social circle through that without actually taking any real risks and hoping that in the social circle the girls are going to start making moves on you. Because look, can it be easier when they're in your social circle? Yes, it can be. But does it mean girls are just going to like start making out with you and like take you to the bed for them? No. And it's actually more pressure when you're in social circle situations, because if you mess up and you make a move on the wrong girl in the wrong way, you get damage in your social circle. You damage your social circle and you can kill it. So it's really not like the social circle thing is something that is good idea to cultivate, to build a social circle, but like that being the main course, and that's going to make it easy. Like you're still going to have the same anxieties and the same like hesitations when it's a girl in the social circle, and there's actually more pressure and more to lose. Whereas with cold approach, there's less to lose, and it's easier to just walk up to a random girl than to try to set up some event with a bunch of girls you haven't met. Like it's easier to build a social circle through cold approaching than to get results just through doing social circle by itself. So I think people with marketing, and it really pisses me off when people market it as like the easy way out. Like this is the 4-hour work week of no. Like what those guys did is actually build social circles through developing cold approach skills in many cases anyway, the ones who did any good at it. So just keep that in mind with the whole social circle thing. All right, and maybe one more. And does age matter? A little bit, not as much as you probably think.
No. It matters so little. I mean, it does matter to an extent, but it only matters if you're not the exception to the rule. And even so, the exception to the rule type guy, at a higher level, not gonna lie, the big thing about age is gonna be the fact that you mentally kind of lose it. You're not as witty, you're not as cool. So then from there, like you have to like find a way to keep sharp, keep your health up. Like, cause like when you start losing that stuff, that's kind of tough. And not to mention keep your confidence up, because as you kind of lose your social acuity, you can also drop that off. So there are reasons why your game would drop, but it's not because of your age necessarily. It's also too, society doesn't necessarily promote that kind of stuff, so that can be kind of difficult. Like society doesn't like tell like little 18-year-olds it's okay to go date an 80-year-old man. Like that's like, so as the 80-year-old man yourself, you have to have such a strong frame that society bends, that the belief bends. That's the sell point. That's the point that like that I'm trying to get at personally. It's like if you are a certain age, that like the thing is like that you don't care about it. So I've had times where girls like, I'm not into white guys, I'm not into this, I'm not into that, I'm not into height, this, that. And then what happens? I'm like, I cocky my way through it. I'm like, dude, sure. Or like you can hit on the emotions. So you can either cocky your way through it, or you hit on the emotions, you get her laughing so hard. Dude, girls are so fucking emotional. They don't give a fuck.
Yeah, for those of you who don't know, he's 4'9", so
yeah,
pretty impressive that he makes up for that in other areas.
My dick's twice.
Okay, this is why I get nervous doing lives with you. Sugar daddy websites. Look, those kind of girls, from what I see, are not the ones I'd be interested in spending time with. They can be physically attractive. There's ways to make that work, but not really for me. It's just like takers, right? At least that's my opinion from what I've seen. Not girls are gonna like, oh, be super charming and charismatic. It's like they just want to get money for their like in exchange for that, which is generally not the kind of energy I want to be around, is what I would say. I got a few girls pregnant during cold approach. There's these things called contraceptives that I would recommend. I don't know what to say other than that. Like, or get a vasectomy, like if that's being a recurring problem. That's something that can generally be avoided. All right, I'm gonna wrap it up here. Good talking to you guys. Let me know if you enjoyed the live format and want more of that. And until next time.